D Durrell with D Durrell Life Solutions. Happy to be here once again. I'm actually hanging out on the balcony, enjoying this good Houston air today. Um, Trying out the camera on this new phone that I got. I got a Galaxy S25 Plus. Um, I kind of, decided to part ways with the Apple phone, and so I'm trying out the Android. I'm going back to the Android, and so right now, guys, I just want to have a quick discussion on mental health. This is an open discussion to anyone, everybody that's watching right now. I plan to do a little bit more of these where I can just have these impromptu discussions where I don't have to do a lot of editing, no StreamYard and all that stuff. I can just basically press the phone, press the plus symbol, and we can have a discussion. So again, welcome everybody. This is D Durrell with D Durrell Life Solutions. It's been over a month, I think. Excuse me, since I have created a live stream on this channel, and I thought that this would be an excellent time to do so. Appreciate those that are in the clouds right now. Appreciate you all for coming in. I got a couple of likes. Appreciate that once again. And so I want to facilitate this discussion so that we can have the ability to ask whatever type of mental health questions that you may have for me, anything that you may have a question about, concern. It can be personal, it can be potentially something that you read in an article. I love discussing mental health research. I love to discuss what is valid research versus BS. How statistics can be misleading. Again, as it relates to research, there's a lot of different research out there, and there are a lot of different things that are stated. And I think one of the biggest things is that people misconstrue research as being factual, meaning that because the research shows that something happened, it doesn't mean that every scenario that this same outcome will happen. It basically gives a somewhat measured gives measured evidence to the potential of something happening and what are the variables that contributed to that. Shout out to My Opinion. She said, D, my darlings, how are you doing? Happy for you to be here. Happy for you to be here and come hang out with me today as we talk about mental health. Um, so one would ask, you haven't went live a lot on this channel lately. No, I have not. And part of the reason why I have not, number one reason is I have not engaged in a lot of recent um, um, educational research related to mental health. I mean, I have because I constantly read things, but I haven't been reading a lot of current things in the last maybe 2 to 3 weeks. My gears have been shifted towards a lot of work related issues, a lot of things related to my profession, within my clinic, myself as a therapist, and then also unfortunately, someone like My Opinion may know, I've been engaging in a little bit of effery that involves the Umar Johnson sector or the sector, and so that has contributed to eating up a lot of my time as opposed to making this more of a priority. Also, guys, unfortunately, I haven't even gotten a chance to really dab into the dating coach scenarios, the dating coach videos, which I have a game plan of what I want to do, but the execution has been delayed. So I do think I do need to get back to doing just spontaneous content that people can scroll and see long form, see this type of content, And I want to have those discussions and facilitate people asking me questions as it relates to counseling, mental health, in all areas. I don't have all the answers for everything, but I know a little something about almost everything, and to the point where I could give you, if I can't give you an answer, I can definitely route you in the direct in a um, the right direction to seek the answer. So in this discussion today, guys, as we talk about mental health, I want to have a discussion about how do we manage our mental health on a daily basis. I think that one of the biggest issues as it involves American society is the fact that the way our social economical environment is structured, the political, the economy, the economics of things, um, the, the family structure, the social structure that is housed inside of this bubble, it makes us difficult to manage ourselves on a day-to-day basis. In order to be proficient in certain different life domains, you're sacrificing aspects of your mental health to become successful. You are grasping, in many situations, particularly those who are high income earners, a lot of stress. Okay, a lot of stressors, a lot of anxiety, a lot of issues as it involves interacting with other people. So my opinion said my comment disappeared and I ain't retyping. We can discuss it when you're on a panel again. I didn't see your you may have typed something. I don't know what you wrote, Teresa. Um, Give me a summarize. I don't know. Summarized version. I don't know exactly what you wrote, but I only have two statements that you typed into the chat. So I don't know specifically. Just type me the concept, and I can somewhat talk about that. Community space in honor of my sister, a friendship zone for older adults with mental health away from the normal clinical setting. Okay, so let's talk about that. We want to talk about having a space, a let's say a therapeutic space. Um, let's talk about a therapeutic space for adults with mental health away from a normal clinical setting. Um, I'm going to say that there are therapeutic environments that provide a social atmosphere where people with mental health issues can socialize. Unfortunately, it's clinical. Um, the only other place that I would recommend that is non-clinical is a support group. Let's say that there are plenty of support groups. They have autism support groups. They have a lot of bipolar parents, bipolar family with bipolar, things like that, depression support groups. There are lots of support groups that, when people are dealing with similar um, issues, whether they're the person experiencing or a family member, they do provide a social support in a non-clinical setting. Okay, so now, if we would like to go deeper into that, and where we are, someone is facilitating an environment created for that, then I would also say potentially some type of organization that has meetups, and we in small groups where those things could be had. However, I do think there is a need for outlets, social outlets, where it is non-clinical, and you're getting interaction, which is stimulating, which is a good coping mechanism, and it's not necessarily involving the the therapist and client relationship. Okay, the Slater, shout out to the Slater show. Shout out to Corey. He said, "What do you think the percentage of people in America have mental illness?" That's a good question. I'm going to say, uh, that is a good question. I'm going to say about a fourth. I'm going to say about 25 to 35%. I'm going to say about 20, 25 to 30%. And when you talk about have mental health issues, um, some of these issues can be acute and some of them can be long term. Acute meaning short term mental health related issues. Um, and then we're talking about things that are long term, meaning that it's more chronic, where they're dealing with this on an ongoing basis. Hell, I have had issues um, where people deal with anxiety. Now, whether or not it's to the level of it being a clinical diagnosis, that's a different story. But as you relate to someone having a clinical diagnosis, I'm going to say somewhere between 25 to 30%. Um, I am giving an educated guess on that because there are statistics that can show like so many people are diagnosed with this, but I'm going to say about a third of our country have people who have some type of mental health issue that they have to cope with and deal with on an ongoing basis. My opinion said yes, no, they would have activities besides just counselors. Yeah, I get that. That is actually not a bad idea. That is something that um, would be very much needed to have a safe space, a mental health safe space, without feeling like you're being treated. There is a place for that. Let's see who else is speaking, and I appreciate the discussion. Those who are um, giving comments in the comment section. My opinion state what? Yeah, kind of like that. Now that I'm thinking of online community, a lot of friends have been left out since it closed. Okay. CB, shout out to CB. He states, Darrell, I'm from NYC, New York City. I'm noticing a lot of young homeless blacks with mental illness. And I can talk in detail about that. The reason why you're finding a lot of young people with mental health issues is because the mental health issue was so debilitating that those people can no longer function in their normal social environment, particularly within taking care of themselves. Their daily living skills has decompensated. They can no longer hold a job. They have, in many instances, damaged relationships with people who could provide support for them. So when you don't have that support, both emotional and economical support, okay, and when you don't have a means to take care of yourself because you have issues functioning in a structured environment for 8 or more hours, 6 to 8 to 10 or more hours a day, because it's too stressful for your psych for you mentally. Eventually, you won't be able to pay your bills. Eventually, you won't be able to buy things and do things as any adult will, which will lead to you being evicted. And that's how that works. And unfortunately, CB, a lot of these guys who are homeless may have some level of psychosis or some extreme mood issues, or some cognitive related issue that has caused um, a situation in which they have to be homeless. Okay. CB said talking about millennials. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, to me, that it's not a generational thing, because a large percentage of homeless people, particularly homeless black males or even black people in generally, have some type of mental health. It's not a generational thing. The homeless population has a high, um, a high level of has a it's mental health is highly mental health issues are highly prevalent in those communities. And that goes across the board, despite whether you're a Gen Xer, baby boomer, or etc. Yes, it broke my heart when they closed down the one my sister went to. Now that she's not with us, it's even more important. What's up, Juju? How you doing? Good to see you here. She said, "Hello, Dad." Listen, Juju, everybody's just kind of in here right now, but hello to you. I appreciate you for coming in. Appreciate you for coming in as we have this discussion. Juju, you're free to ask me a question, um, and so forth. But what I can say, every generation has a trend of issues that are unique to that generation. Okay? Previous generations, when we look at baby boomers and when we look at generations before that, um, they did not have adequate levels of mental health services, and the field of psychology itself is young. The field of mental health itself is young. There were a lot of I would say treatments and interventions that would be deemed unethical and not necessarily professional in today's um, in as far as how things are operating in present day and modern times. So when we talk about people who are more like myself, that's like a Gen Xer, Gen Xers and millennials and things of that sort. Um, there has been a great deal of improvements, and so also we have to look at the things that do influence mental health a lot as it relates to the delivery of services, technology. Okay, also has a big effect on why mental health may look a certain way to Gen Xers. It may look a certain way to millennials. It looks a certain way because they grew up in a certain environment. They grew up with certain technologies. Um, that's why we're seeing you're seeing a lot more um, pervasive disorders being diagnosed, particularly something like autism. We're talking more about people having anxiety, people who are addicted to social media, the different frameworks of the way we socialize, interact, and communicate that presents ways in which mental health issues are triggered that would not have occurred in previous generations. Okay? My opinion said, thank you. These conversations are needed. Lord off the cloud. I don't work myself up. Addresses. Okay. Okay. So I'm definitely loving um the conversation and the things that are talked about. But I wanted to have a quick mental health discussion. I'm just looking at, like, hey, man, I've been, engaged in a lot of different things. Um, I got to get back to what made me um, join YouTube in the first place, and that was to talk about mental health. As I just have discussions with people who um, saw my channel for the first time, and I still get questions from a great deal of um, of people on and off, and a lot of it is related to mental health. You'd be surprised. Um, a lot of comments, a lot of emails that I may get, or people contacting me, is for a couple of things. They asking me questions about a severe mental health crisis within their family or within themselves. Are there people who are interested in working at some capacity in the mental health field and they want my advice? And are they willing to pay for a consultation? And so that's basically was at the forefront of me starting the first YouTube channel, which was At the Practice. And At the Practice was me kind of highlighting my day to day at the practice dealing with mental health. I created a lot of videos as I was on my way to different locations, and as I was on my way to schools. I was on my way to going to different. I was actually going to the prison system. I was going inside of homes. I was going to different treatment environments, and I would talk about that. My opinion said real quick, this is the D I chill with. The Godfather on the break for a minute. Listen, guys. In my opinion, yes, I am the Godfather. Look, I'm gonna say this, guys. Yeah, I need to be on a break. I did a lot of content in the Umar sector, and I'm gonna tell you, as you talk about the capacity to recognize stressors and avoid or not continuously ingratiate yourself into environments that cause unnecessary. And to be honest with you, anything within those type of sectors like that is unnecessary. If you find yourself becoming anxious, depressed, worrying, stressed, or feeling some other type of mental health issue, that anger, just whatever, so forth, it's a good time to take a break. Now, in my position, my opinion, me doing this content itself is actually it's kind of a break. I like, number one, it feels good out here. It's nice and windy outside. It's nice and windy outside. The breeze, it is therapeutic as far as me being outside on this balcony and feeling the wind. But also, it's not necessarily therapeutic for me to talk about mental health. That's just what I enjoy doing, even though it can be deemed as so. However, the fact of the matter is that I'm talking about what I do well. I'm talking about what brought me into these spaces in the first place. And so, part of the thing that to me is not online in my position that is overwhelming. I can deal with people doing all types of horrific things because they're sensitive. I can deal with people who falsely claim that you said things about their family members when you didn't. I never did. I don't, I can deal with people who have issues because I'm a reflection of what they wish they could be. And so I understand that. And so in response, they'll do things to get one to act in a way that is outside of who they really are as a person. And it's outside of my YouTube persona. And so I have engaged guys in a lot of offline responses, paperwork that I am working on, and investigations. That is what has been overwhelming. That's why it's not the online. Look, people can go and say whatever they want. That, to me, that is not an issue. But when I have to take out like 45 to an hour and a half of my day to handle paperwork because of things that are said that are illegal, may potentially against the law, and you got ongoing investigations going on, and I have to spearhead that and research things and collect, information and documents online and all that stuff. That to me is not a fun thing to do. And that's part of the reason why for years I would not bother with certain things, because I knew, how it would affect how I would function day to day. And for me, I have a whole staff. I have people who depend on me for a lot of things, and I cannot afford to take exorbitant amounts of time every day dealing with or combating YouTube nonsense. But yes, my opinion, you're dealing with D. Durrell, not the Godfather today. Um, she said, "Yep, I sit outside posting my ass off." She said, "The smile on your face, the way you light up speaking now reflects it. I see you, darling." Thank you, thank you. I mean, this is what I do for a living. This is what I enjoy having these mental health conversations. I do enjoy educating people about mental health, particularly the African American community, my community, because there has been so much miseducation that hinders or prevents black people from wanting to get services. Okay. And Teresa says, "You mean you don't have the time to show us how to file reports and suck AZZ the man?" Okay, I'm done. Listen, guys, a lot of these things that are done online, guys, is very time consuming. Offline is very time consuming. You're talking to numerous agencies, you're filing reports, you're consulting with legal people, and so forth. Unfortunately, there have been some recent events that are potentially against the law also, if they claim those things are to be true. So if you say something is true, I am going to assume it is the truth, and I'm going to report to the authorities that it's the truth. And I'll let them do their investigation and find out what is true or not. You know, when you do illegal things and you harbor information that is illegal, that says a lot about you as a person who communicated with someone that discussed an illegal activity, and you held on to that, according to you, if that's to be true, and to use it as a means to intimidate and bully and harass. I'll let the authorities decide that. Okay. So CB says, "Do you believe that when some of these people who claim they are trolling are really dealing with mental illness?" That is a great question, CB. And the answer is yes, I do. Now, when I say mental illness, I'm going to be very liberal with that, because I'm not going to say that they necessarily have a mental health diagnosis, but they're definitely having some mental health issues that are affecting them in their life that would attribute to the fact that they're engaging in such a ugly and evil and erroneous behavior, and don't care about their presentation, not only to others, but they don't care about the consequences within themselves. So when you get to a point where you don't care what you say and what you do, and not understand that those things could potentially be against the law, or those things can be unethical, or those things can cause harm to others, then there is the potential for that. But I'm not going to say whether or not someone has mental illness or not, but they may be dealing with some type of psychosocial stressor that contributes to them going online and having the acumen to engage in such sophomoric behavior and not caring about the consequences. And so at this point in my juncture, I'm going to make you care by having people contact you and forcing you to care. That's where I'm at with it. Okay. She says we need it and offer the type of services to folks. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So CB says, find that people in a certain sector who is sole goal is to defend and destroy people's personal professional life. They must be experiencing some kind of mental illness issue. I'm going to say that it is very likely that people who engage in this type of behavior have some issues going on within themselves where they feel that they have a certain level of importance that they cannot obtain in real life or in their profession. And so on YouTube or any other social media platform, gaining the attention of others or the admiration of others to do felonious activity towards other people is gratifying. There is definitely some issues going on. Okay, I don't know to what extent, particularly when you're focusing on someone's personal life. Okay. Shout out to the Queen B for you reacts. How you doing, Queen? Good and glad to see you here. My opinion said I would agree something is going on or has been in their personal life to make them do the things that they do to others. Shout out to Mikey. What's going on, Mikey? Mikey coming on the panels. I seen Mikey. Shout out to Mikey. And so one of the biggest things, guys, that I have to deal with, and particularly as a professional, is that I do gravitate to environments that may have some level of mental health I'm trying to figure the right. There has to be some. There is some potential for mental health related issues or disability. Okay, or some debilitating um, mental problem that's going on. I do gravitate to environments like that on social media, particularly on YouTube, because if you go into various sectors, you will encounter people who will admit that they have a mental health diagnosis. You will encounter people, and I don't know if it's real or performative art, and that's why I don't get into this whole thing of the diagnosing or saying what can be deemed as a diagnosis. Okay, particularly a bona fide textbook related um, diagnosis. You notice, guys, when I am on the Rebirth channel or even Coach D, I don't respond when people say anything that could be deemed as a diagnosis or mental health related. I actually try to steer people away from that, and I refuse to answer any questions mental health unless I feel the need to correct somebody for saying something that is not correct. Okay. The last time I did, I actually had to police a panel probably about maybe 2 months ago, to a month and a half ago, where they were throwing the word narcissism around and they were saying someone's this and that, and I had to basically tell them we're gonna have to quit doing that due to I don't want anybody to think that I am in an agreement with people saying certain things. Those are my opinions. Okay. Um, my opinion says y'all have a good in wrapping up our evening. Okay, wrapping up your evening. Also with myself, and I'm only on there for a short period of time. I just want to chop it up with you all for a little bit. I'm not going to hold you all too long, but I did wanted to do a quick discussion, and I had really good questions, and I do appreciate people that have come by and who are interacting with me to talk about mental health related issues and having a mental health discussion. And so about what 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I was doing a lot of videos on this channel, and I was doing uploads, and I was doing the lives, impromptu lives, and people were coming over from other sectors and they were telling me things, and I ended up having an infamous phone call that went left, and before you know it, I got back into doing things that I know I should not have been doing. And so, um, if people want to know how am I dealing uh, with the online effery that goes on, me personally, I'm doing fine. I'm not bothered at all. I'm not angry. I'm not. livid. I'm not disgusted. I'm basically looking at things like I always, um, you know, like I always would in any scenario, no matter how bad or how they expose things. I look at it with a grain of salt and I keep it pushing. I do not and I will not allow online riffraff to affect me mentally as it relates to me interacting with family, friends, my clients professionally, etc. I would not. Shout out to Must Be Trini Gallon State. She said, "You looking handsome." Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Queen. So I am having this discussion because, you know, I think sometimes when you are daily engaging in these environments, you see a lot of disgusting things. But not only that, you see people willing to go any depth to gain validation to people that they don't know. Um, to me the sense the heightened sensitivity is incredible, particularly if you say things about other people and you cannot accept someone saying something back to you. That is frightening. That people are willing to go through some of the ugliest means and use all types of instruments to do evil and to make an attempt to trigger or get someone out to say foolish things. And I refuse to do that. Um, I'm in the reporting, like state of mind. I'm in the offline state of mind. And again, guys, it's the online aspects of things that can be overwhelming with me trying to fit that within my day. Um, and so having this discussion is a good relief, is a way to getting away from that. Talking about mental health, I'm going to encourage people to engage in therapeutic activity that relieves stress, worrying, okay, that anxiety, that relieves negative behaviors. If you're moody, depressed, things of that sort, manic, or etc. Engage in therapeutic activities that will allow you to be comfortable, that will allow you to get through your day at work, at home. It could be anything like watching TV, doing a puzzle, exercise. Okay. Um, I personally do not, as a therapist, I probably would never, and I never have encouraged people to use talking on YouTube, particularly if you're a controversial content creator, as a means of coping, as being therapeutic. Now, what I will encourage is that you read reputable or look at reputable videos and literature written and performed by people who are qualified to speak on those things and have a track record. I do not advise people to randomly watch videos with people who have no experience, no credentials, anything, claiming that they're an expert on something. I have spoken immensely against people who are online claiming to do therapeutic related activities such as relationship, anything. Anytime someone says something about coaching, I have issues with it. Particularly, they say I'm a life coach, I'm a dating coach, I'm a marriage coach, or whatever the hell that is. I'm a substance abuse, chemical dependency coach, which is a real thing in the state of Texas, and I'm not sure about other states. But particularly with a substance abuse coach, there are credentials in a process to be certified or in that. particularly a life coach. A real life coach goes through training to become a life coach. There are, uh, I've seen life coaching trainings that may be 20 to 30 hours of training. I respect that. Um, I would not encourage someone to seek a life coach who didn't undergo some type of training to be certified as a life coach and does not have at least a minimum of a bachelor's degree in a social science, particular social sciences such as social work, psychology, mental health, rehabilitation psychology, or some behavioral sciences or anything like they or sociology or something like that. Early childhood development, something to dealing with the behavior of people. Um, that would be my professional opinion of that. Some random person that basically worked at a junkyard for the last 20 years and now they decide I have all these experiences interacting with people. Now I'm going to be a light. No, 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 no. You worked as a, I don't care, manager at Home Depot or something. I have all this experience working with people and dealing with all these different type of customers. So now I can no, 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 no. That is not what life coaching is. Matter of fact, I was going to do a video actually. I was going to create a video about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I actually saw on my uh, counseling website, the board website, where if you as a therapist claim to do life coaching or any type of what could be deemed as a therapeutic or healing art per se, where you're helping people with something socially or that can affect their mental health, you still have to operate with the same ethical guidelines as a as you being in a clinical environment. Which I knew that, and I knew that to be the case, but I, for one, it was very interesting the need for the psychology board, the board examiners of psychology, or the Texas Behavioral Health Executive Council to actually post that. And so I am inclined to think that they may have had some complaints. People pretending, or therapists that were engaging in those type of activities that had some complaints. And I think some of those therapists may have acted in such ways that they never would have acted in a therapeutic environment, but they thought that they could act as far as facilitating whatever services at a lower level because it's not necessarily deemed mental health or clinical. They thought that they could get away, and of course, once you have that license, anything that you do that can be interrelated, or like even in consulting, I'm a person that consults. Consulting is a um, it is not necessarily therapeutic or clinical, but I still have to operate with the same ethical guidelines. I still have to maintain confidentiality. I still have to maintain a certain uh, professional relationship, not getting into dual relationships. I cannot advertise in a consultation skills, education, training that I don't possess. That sounds familiar because we had people who actually that I've had to make everybody aware of that they are claiming to have certain skills that they actually don't have. So that's basically that's a real thing. So guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, guys. I do appreciate you all for being here and having the presence to checking me out on D Durrell Life Solutions. I like the new phone. I like the camera, so I'm going to be more inclined to do more videos like this while I'm out taking care of business and having conversations with you, short conversations. You all notice, guys, particularly on the other channel, if you look at the videos that I've done, they're like an hour and a half to 2 hours. The longest video I actually did on the D Darrell live channel was actually 3 hours, 2 days ago. So I am not about doing 3, 4, 5 hour live streams. I really don't even like doing 3 hours. 2 hours to me is enough. Is good. 2.5 maybe depending on something. 3 hours is a lot. 4 hours is just literally too much. It for me to do 4 hour live stream. That means I literally don't have anything to do that day, and I'm just passing time. I have no interest in doing 4 hour live streams ever again. 3 hours maybe. 2 hours is actually the standard. An hour and a half is actually my preference. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you all for being here. This is D Darrell with D Darrell Life Solutions. I hope y'all have a great day. Peace.